to be from New York, I think produces an audience that loves fighters and produces a community that, you know, could potentially produce great fighters.
You know, I grew up a kid in an environment, an atmosphere that was very, very promoting of drugs, very promoting of violence. But the world of MMA and what I do now for a living actually took me away from that and gave me a new life. And now I'm actually giving back that same gift to my students. I feel like that, they need to legalize MMA in the city because they could take all these people who are going out there and who are so prone to violent behaviors and all that, and turn these people into good people. Give them a reason to want to train and work all their, anger out and all the violence out and do it in a very productive manner.
I think all martial arts bring a strength and a discipline, self-discipline to anybody who practices it. So if you happen to be able to work with people who have had a troubled background, like the youth or people with other problems, they bring out from themselves a strength of character that you sometimes don't see. What happens normally when you have to work really, really hard physically is you have to reach down inside yourself, and you don't have anybody to blame but yourself for your success or your failure. And so people actually come out and do more things.
My name is Felipe Nover. I'm a professional mixed martial art fighter and I fight in the UFC. Right now we're here in my hometown, Brooklyn, New York. Being here in Universal Defense Systems has been basically my catalyst almost to my life. It's always there for me. I always come in here and train, but it keeps me focused on everything that I'm doing. So whether I'm doing nursing, whether I'm doing whatever I'm doing, it's there and I have something to come to. I have people here I've been training with for years. We support each other not only as a team, but as a family.
My name is Firas Zahabi. I'm a professional trainer here at TriStar Gym in Zahabi MMA. I train fighters such as George St. Pierre, Jerome LeBanner, basically a lot of the great fighters from Canada. In Toronto, it's illegal, and I think that's, I don't think it's a good thing for Toronto because they won't be able to develop as fast as we will. Because in Quebec here, we have many shows, we have many competitions. It gives us a reason to train harder and longer.
It's important that we legalize MMA everywhere. When you fight in your hometown, you get the support of your hometown crowd. It makes you not only become a better fighter, but it represents your city. And New York's unrepresented right now.
Contrary to what a lot of sports fans don't really appreciate about combat fighting, is there's something really, really pure about a sport like mixed martial arts and combat fighting.
It's a chess match. There's strategy involved, there's discipline involved, there's a training camp involved.
People have to appreciate it. There's so much technique and so much training. You have to respect it. You can't shut it down. You have to really respect the sport.
The obstacles the sport faces is just, folks are misinformed.
I think we need to make it legal, find a way to make it legal in Toronto, and I think the best avenue for that is education. Educate the people on what exactly is going on in the cage, and then people will come to appreciate the techniques.
I think 10 years ago in MMA, people didn't know what was going on when they went and watched shows like TKO or even Ultimate Fighting Championships. They were just looking for blood. But today, I think that people know what's going on the ground. They see submissions, they see what a submission is, they see what an armbar is, they see what a choke is, and they actually look for the technical side.
First step we gotta take into legalizing MMA is understanding it first, understanding what kind of beast it is. Everyone thinks it's human cockfighting, and it's not. There's rules and regulations to protect fighters, and I mean, it's one of the safest sports out there.
The public perception is that it's a very violent and brutal sport, but the reality of it is that a real well-trained martial artist is not necessarily going to use brute force to win a fight. If all you see is two big guys trying to hurt each other, you're missing the art of the sport. A lot of people want to come and defend themselves, and they realize that MMA is the most effective way to defend yourself, and then they start to appreciate the beauty of it. And I think it's a growing population that are starting to understand the sport, but it's still not there yet.
The legislator here in New York State and the people who make these decisions are still looking at the sport like it was in 1995, the human cockfighting days. It's a totally different sport. It's live on CBS.
The laws can't be passed for some reason. I believe the people who are watching the tapes are watching like UFC, the early UFCs where they were hair pulling and punching to the groin and crazy things like that.
The problem is that when mixed martial arts was banned in the state of New York, it was a totally different sport. The unified rules of mixed martial arts weren't even instituted yet. This was in the no-holds-barred days, and now the sport has, there's over 30 different moves that are banned in an MMA match. You can't do certain things. There's weight classes, time limits.
Before there was headbutts, it was kind of brutal before, you know, there was less regulations. Now it's sanctioned by athletic commissions, you know, there's blood tests, head scans, there's so many regulations, just like boxing. So it's a very legit sport.
The people look the MMA in the bad way, but when you stop and you start to understand the sport, you understand that it's not a street fight, it's a professional sport. We train like an Olympian athlete.
You still have conservative reporters and media that still see it as a barbaric gladiator sport. When you watch events and realize how much the sport's evolved, you realize it's way past that.
I think MMA could be seen in a different light, not so much as barbaric, but as a tool or a vehicle of a lot of discipline, you know, a lot of hard work, a lot of training, but also as a fitness, you know, it could be fun as well.
It's a true, legitimate sport practiced by true athletes, true sportsmen, true mixed martial artists. And it's interesting, boxing, jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, Muay Thai, karate, it's all legal in the state of New York, yet the sport that brings them all together isn't. And that's a shame. New York has always been ahead of the game.
New York State is very important to the fight game. You know, some of the best fights ever have been held here in New York State. You know, Madison Square Garden, the old Yankee Stadium, some of the biggest and best fights have been held here.
Madison Square Garden is a validator. You know, it's a validator of great, iconic sports and athletes.
I want to fight in the Garden. That's what makes a legend a legend. All the legends that fought at the Garden, I want to be there.
To fight in New York would be a dream come true. Take the L train, you know, to Madison Square Garden, fight amongst my fellow New Yorkers, and you know, I mean, if you see how much love New York has for the Yankees, they just won the World Series. Imagine how much love they'll have for you know, New York fighters.
45,000 at Yankee Stadium. Joe Louis, one of the hottest properties in town, 23 fights, undefeated.
It's a shame because, I mean, in New York, it's an incredible crowd, you know, they're huge fans of sports.
It's so important to legalize MMA in New York because boxing, the history is so rich here. It started here. We have some of the best fights in the world that took place here. All the old great boxing fighters that fought Madison Square Garden are awesome. They're the best fighters in the world, and that's what I want to be.
One day I'll be calling mixed martial arts action in that very arena, Madison Square Garden, the mecca of sports. It's going to be great. We're out here in the sold-out MSG, a raucous crowd of 19,000 here to watch UFC 126, the main event.
It's tough economic times. Some people close their fists to fight. That's how they make their money. But look, MMA generates hundreds of millions of dollars for every city we go to. Why not New York?
Toronto and Ontario, just not having it is ridiculous. You should have it. Look at Quebec. Look at out west. Look what's going on in the U.S. It's huge. It's huge. It's bringing in a lot of money, and they're losing a lot of money not having it in Toronto and Ottawa.
If a major MMA event came to New York State and was held at Madison Square Garden, held at the HBC Arena in Buffalo, held at the Pepsi Arena in Albany, New York, it would be huge. It would bring millions of dollars. It's proven. There are studies. $15 million, $400 million in Nevada in 2008. A big MMA event coming to an arena like Madison Square Garden would only do good things for the city of New York.
My name is Mark Ecko. Help me legalize MMA here in New York City.